Imagine this. You wake up in the middle of the night to find a stranger standing over you. You scream, but he's already gone, leaving behind only a bizarre calling card, a lock of your own hair, freshly snipped while you slept. This is the eerie story of the Phantom Barber of Pascagoula, a shadowy figure who invaded the homes of unsuspecting residents, leaving a trail of fear and cut hair in his wake. During the dark days of World War II, the quiet town of Pascagoula, Mississippi, faced an unusual terror, one that had nothing to do with distant battlefields or air raids. Night after night, an unseen figure silently enters the bedrooms of unsuspecting residents. No doors are forced, no windows shattered, only a chilling discovery in the morning: locks of hair snipped from their heads as they slept. Who, or what, was the Phantom Barber? And how did he manage to strike fear without ever being seen? The year was 1942, and the town of Pascagoula, Mississippi, was like many others in the United States. A quiet community turned tense by the realities of World War II. But for Pascagoula, fear didn't just stem from ration shortages or telegrams from the front. There was something else, something far closer to home. The first documented incident occurred on the night of June 5, 1942. A young woman named Mary Briggs woke up to a horrifying realization. Someone had broken into her home. What made this break-in unusual and deeply unsettling was that nothing was stolen. Mary's hair had been carefully cut, and the intruder had vanished into the night. In the weeks that followed, more victims came forward. The Phantom Barber seemed to strike at random. His victims included women, young girls, and even children. All shared one eerie detail: their hair had been cut while they slept. There was no sign of forced entry, no sounds to indicate an intruder had been there. Yet, the evidence was clear: someone had been in their home while they slept. At first, some thought it was a prank, a tasteless joke by local troublemakers. But as the weeks went on, the town was thrown into a state of panic. Who was this intruder? Why was he cutting hair? And more importantly, what would he do next? Imagine waking up to the faintest rustling sound. You dismiss it as the wind, or perhaps your imagination. But in the morning, you find a lock of your hair missing, the strands left neatly on your bedside table. The realization that someone had been so close to you while you slept is enough to send shivers down your spine. Parents began locking their children's windows, and rumors spread like wildfire. The press quickly dubbed the intruder the Phantom Barber. Speculation ran wild. Was this a deranged hairdresser, a displaced soldier, or something more sinister? A figure who thrived on the terror of his victims. The local police were inundated with reports. They launched an investigation, patrolling the streets at night and questioning anyone who seemed suspicious. But the Phantom Barber was elusive, leaving no fingerprints, no clues, no witnesses. Some residents reported hearing whispers in the night or seeing shadows move outside their windows, but nothing substantial ever materialized. Investigators were left grasping at straws. The case took a darker turn when violence entered the picture. The Phantom Barber escalated his reign of terror with an attack on the home of Mr. and Mrs. Terrell. They were assaulted in their own bedroom, an incident far more violent than the previous hair-snipping intrusions. The town's fear grew into panic. People began barricading their homes, sleeping with weapons by their beds, and keeping watch through the long hours of the night. A break in the case seemed to come in July 1942, when a local chemist, William Dolan, was arrested and charged with the attack on the Terrells. Authorities believed he might also be the Phantom Barber. But the evidence against Dolan was circumstantial, and many residents doubted his guilt. Was he truly the Phantom Barber, or just an unlucky scapegoat? Many locals doubted he was truly responsible, convinced that the Phantom Barber had slipped through the cracks once again. Despite the panic, the attacks dwindled, and eventually they stopped altogether. The Phantom Barber was never conclusively identified or captured, and Pascagoula returned to its quiet routine. But for those who lived through that summer of terror, the fear never truly faded. Over the years, theories about the Phantom Barber have ranged from plausible to outlandish. Some speculated that he was a war saboteur, possibly targeting residents to spread fear and disrupt the war effort. Some believed he was a supernatural entity, a ghost or spirit drawn to the vulnerability of sleeping victims. Others thought it was a soldier, mentally unhinged by the horrors of war, who found a macabre way to cope with his trauma, or simply a deranged individual with a bizarre compulsion. And then there were those who suggested the whole thing was an elaborate hoax. The identity of the Phantom Barber remains unknown, and his bizarre spree has become a part of Pascagoula's folklore. Can you imagine the feeling of waking to find a piece of yourself missing? Not stolen, just taken. What do you think happened in Pascagoula? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, keep your windows locked and your curiosity unlocked.